how to get back together with your ex-boyfriend. Relationship takes work. If you've been with your significant other for any length of time, you can attest to this fact. Some relationships come to an inevitable conclusion, but there are times when the breakup isn't mutual. This is one of those circumstances, and you want to know, how can I get back together with my ex-boyfriend? Unfortunately, mending a broken relationship is never simple. Nevertheless, some of the advice I'm going to give you can certainly make it a lot easier to give him a reason to want to come back to you. Stop obsessing with the all-important question, how can I get back together with my ex-boyfriend? Instead, I want you to focus on fixing what's broken. In other words, you need to start rectifying the causes of your failed relationship. Unless you do this, even if you were to get him back, you'd end up losing him again because you didn't change the reason he broke up with you in the first place. So, the first step to getting your boyfriend back is to find out what happened. What did you do that led to the breakup? What didn't you do? For obvious reasons, when a relationship fails, you need to take that as an indication that something went wrong. Relationships don't just end just for the sake of ending. There's usually an underlying reason. If you're not sure where to begin looking, I'm going to give you some information to help you start searching in the right places. If he left you, then it was likely for one of two reasons: either the relationship was becoming stale because there was not enough of you in it, or the relationship was getting too claustrophobic because there was too much of you in it. I realize that this sounds a bit contradictory. You're darned if you do, and darned if you don't, but that's the way relationships work sometimes. You have to know how much of yourself to give, and how much to hold back. So, start by looking at either one of the two reasons mentioned above. Whichever one you're guilty of, one of these causes led to the termination of your relationship. Why now? You may be asking, how can I get back together with my ex-boyfriend? Well, you can start by figuring out which of the two causes led to the breakup so you can act accordingly. After you figure out what you did, or didn't do, what happens next? How can you manage to get him to come back? The next step is to dedicate yourself to changing whatever it was that drove him away. This is a moment of introspection. You need to take a really hard look at yourself, and you need to be brutally honest. This is not a time to be defensive. If you want him back, you have to be honest with yourself and determine what you did wrong, so you can take the appropriate steps to change it. Yes, it's possible that it wasn't your entire fault. Perhaps there were things that he did that irritated you, and you can address those issues once you have him back, but for now, you're trying to get him back, and pointing out his faults is not the way to do it. At the same time, you can only take responsibility for things that were your fault. When you know what you did, you can own up to your mistakes. Start by ruling out those things that you cannot control, since they'll probably continue to be out of your control. Instead, focus on the things that you did do wrong, and the ones that you can indeed change. If you determine that your biggest problem is something that you can control and change, then you're in a very good position. However, you must be certain you really are willing to make the necessary changes to win him back. Just knowing how to get back together with your ex-boyfriend is not enough. It won't happen unless you are willing to take action.